Some places don't want to be found. Not because they're dangerous or hard to reach, but because the people who call them home know exactly what happens once the secret gets out. Crowds arrive, prices rise, and the quiet magic that made a place special slowly disappears. Across the world, small communities guard certain beaches, valleys, and villages fiercely, sharing them only with those who ask the right questions or stumble in by accident. Today, we're counting down 12 places locals genuinely beg tourists to keep secret. Because once you see them, you'll understand exactly why. 12. Cala Macareta, Menorca. Spain, while Mallorca and Ibiza fill with crowds every summer, the quieter island of Menorca hides coves that barely make it onto travel itineraries. Cala Macareta is a small horseshoe-shaped bay reached only by a footpath through pine forest. Its water so clear that boats appear to float in midair. Local families have swum here for generations, arriving early before the sun climbs too high and the narrow beach fills. Regulars ask visitors not to post the exact trailhead online, worried that a single viral photo could turn their quiet morning swim into a parking lot. 11. Fjarðarfjörður Canyon, Iceland. Long before international pop stars filmed music videos here, Fjarðarfjörður was simply a canyon that farming families in southern Iceland considered their own backyard. Steep, moss-covered walls twist for nearly 2 kilometers, carved by a glacial river that has been cutting through the rock for thousands of years. Wooden viewing platforms now line the rim, added after visitor numbers spiked. But locals still remember when the trail was nothing more than sheep tracks through the grass. Elders in the area worry that erosion from foot traffic could permanently damage a landscape that took millennia to form. 10. Kelimutu Flores. Indonesia. On the remote island of Flores sits a volcano with 3 crater lakes that shift color unpredictably, cycling through turquoise, maroon, and black depending on mineral activity deep underground. For the local Leo people, these lakes are sacred, believed to be the resting place of departed souls, and elders have long asked visitors to observe quietly rather than treat the summit like a photo backdrop. Reaching the crater rim requires a pre-dawn hike, rewarded by a sunrise that turns all 3 lakes into something closer to a painting than a landscape. 9. Isalo National Park. Madagascar sandstone canyons, natural swimming pools, and eroded rock formations make Isalo feel like nowhere else in Madagascar. Yet it remains overlooked compared to the island's famous lemur reserves. Local Barra guides lead hikers through hidden gorges to freshwater pools tucked between cliffs, places their families have bathed in for generations. Because tourism infrastructure here is limited, guides worry that a sudden influx of visitors could strain water sources that surrounding villages still depend on for daily life. 8. Racha Island. Thailand. An hour south of the crowded beaches of Phuket lies Racha Island, where the water turns an almost unnatural shade of turquoise and coral reefs sit just meters from shore. Local dive instructors have watched nearby islands transform under mass tourism and actively steer larger tour groups elsewhere, quietly protecting Racha's reefs by keeping it out of the main circuit. Fishing families who have worked these waters for decades say the calm here exists only because the island never made it onto the standard tourist map. 7. Lençóis Maranhenses, Brazil from above. This stretch of northeastern Brazil looks like a desert, but after the rainy season, thousands of rainwater lagoons fill the valleys between towering white dunes, creating an otherworldly landscape found nowhere else on the planet. Local guides from nearby fishing villages lead small groups across the dunes by jeep and on foot, timing visits around the lagoons at their fullest and bluest. Because the dunes shift constantly and the ecosystem is fragile, communities here have resisted large-scale resort development, preferring to keep visitor numbers manageable. 6. Via de Cocora, Colombia. Towering wax palms, some reaching 60 meters into the sky, rise from misty green hills in Colombia's coffee region, creating a landscape that looks digitally rendered even in person. Farming families who have worked this valley for generations lead horseback tours through the cloud forest, sharing trails that wind past hummingbird sanctuaries and hidden waterfalls. As Colombia's tourism industry grows rapidly, locals have grown protective of Kokura, worried that unmanaged crowds could damage the very palms that make the valley famous. 5. Kawah Ijen, Indonesia at night. This volcano in East Java glows an eerie electric blue, a rare phenomenon caused by sulfuric gases igniting as they escape cracks in the earth. Local miners still descend into the crater before dawn, carrying baskets of sulfur up steep, smoke-filled paths as they have for decades, long before hikers began arriving to witness the blue flames. Many miners now double as informal guides, and several have quietly asked travel bloggers to stop revealing exactly which trail avoids the worst gas exposure, fearing overcrowding could turn a dangerous workplace into an uncontrolled tourist trap. 4. Fernando de Noronha, Brazil, a remote volcanic archipelago off Brazil's northeastern coast. Fernando de Noronha limits the number of visitors allowed on the islands at any given time, a policy locals strongly support. Dolphins gather by the hundreds in its bays each morning. Sea turtles nest undisturbed on protected beaches, and coral reefs remain some of the healthiest in the Atlantic. Residents have watched other Brazilian coastlines become overwhelmed by development, and have pushed hard to keep Noronha's visitor caps in place, even as demand to visit continues climbing. 3. Tiger Leaping Gorge. China, carved by the Yangtze River as it forces its way between two towering mountain ranges, Tiger Leaping Gorge is one of the deepest canyons on Earth, yet it remains far less visited than China's more famous landmarks. Naxi villagers along the two-day trekking route run small guest houses passed down through families, offering home-cooked meals and rooftop views of snow-capped peaks. Because the trail passes through working farmland and fragile cliffside paths, local guides discourage large tour buses, preferring travelers who arrive on foot and stay long enough to actually meet the community. 2. Saksun. Faroe Islands. Even within the already secluded Faroe Islands, the village of Saksun feels hidden, tucked at the end of a narrow valley beside a tidal lagoon that was once a harbor before sand sealed it off from the sea. Fewer than a dozen people live here year-round, maintaining grass-roofed farmhouses that look unchanged for centuries. Residents have watched tour buses multiply across the Faroes in recent years and have asked visitors to stick to marked paths, worried that eroding turf and disrupted sheep grazing could permanently alter a landscape their families have maintained for generations. 1. Sipadan Island, Malaysia, rising from the seafloor off the coast of Borneo. Sipadan is one of the richest marine ecosystems on the planet. Home to swirling schools of barracuda, resident green turtles, and coral walls that plunge hundreds of meters into darkness. Malaysia strictly limits daily diver permits, a rule local dive operators fought hard to establish after watching nearby reefs collapse under unrestricted tourism elsewhere in Southeast Asia. Former fishing communities turned dive guides now consider themselves the island's protectors. And many say the strict limits are the only reason Sipadan still looks the way it did 50 years ago. Which of these hidden places surprised you the most? And if you've ever stumbled onto a spot locals asked you to keep quiet about, let us know in the comments below, without giving away exactly where. If you enjoyed this journey into the world's best-kept travel secrets, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next adventure. Some places are beautiful precisely because so few people know they exist, and it's on all of us to help keep it that way.